Uh-oh, you can't preach with a mask on. But I want to thank you for wearing your mask, because wearing your mask is an act of love. It is a recognition of simple public health. We don't have to wear them this morning because we're social distancing here at UUCA, but I want to thank you for caring about me and other people by wearing your mask, and I care about you by wearing mine. I think that community leaders are going to have to fill in the gaps where we're not hearing that message, and I'll leave that there. But I have mine here. I want to thank Reverend Terrence Strauss, who technically is my minister, and my dear old friend now. I love saying that, you know I do. Don Milton. We met on his very first Sunday here, and I think I was in the pulpit that Sunday. Wow, if that wasn't a warning, nothing was. Let me see. And I want to thank the worship team for inviting me back to my own congregational home, and I thank Abundant Love for tuning in this morning. What a year, and it's only July 4th. And we have more to come in this 2020. Hang in there, please. And for some of us, we have lived through epidemics and people joining in the streets, and we have survived lackluster responses to epidemics from the White House. And with all due respect and regard to the phenomenal changes taking place even as I speak this morning, some of us have not lived through those other times. They are too young. And so it's time again for those able to be in the streets, where every now and then we historically have to go, for them to be in the streets. We must claim and readjust this notion of freedom that is in our songs. By the way, for the younger people listening, Don did a medley. That's part of the emphasis behind this sermon, is that we have these lofty notions in these patriotic songs that we especially haul out around this weekend. And we don't know the difference between America the Beautiful and My Country 'Tis of Thee, or some of us weren't taught all these songs. And then our popular music, like Glory, like the song by Stevie Wonder, have to tell the real truth about who is not being included, or more correctly, who was excluded, while we sing about liberty and justice. And while I'm at it, Black trans lives matter. Black trans lives matter. We don't have a song that says that yet, so we just have to say it. I want to ask, when do the songs of patriotism move us, and why? And what should I care? But I do care. My Black, queer as a $3 bill life matters, and I am American too. And to be clear, as also Lois writes this, our longtime local Atlanta radio personality on our national public radio station, said, patriotism is not nationalism. We are who we are as a nation because of some things that no one can be proud about. And someday we must become a nation in cooperation with the rest of humanity before we perish like fools. So if you tuned in this morning for nationalism or to have that supported, you can tune out now. As an African American, the song says, I got a right to sing the blues. And this morning, I want to proclaim I got a right to sing America, my country, 'tis of thee. In this complicated mess of a nation, I get to do both. even more now with the pain and fear in my heart. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies. And I'm challenging you all to visit Western Kansas. That's not Kansas City. Western Kansas on a pleasant day and see the expanse of beauty that's echoed in the song, one end of the horizon to the next. Our mountain friends are going to have to take some time to get used to that kind of landscape, uninterrupted from sea of corn to shining sea of corn right up to your nose. And I think it is awesome and beautiful. And the writer, Catherine Lee Bates, forgot about the other America, to the south. And we don't ever mention the indigenous who were here on those very plains that I find so beautiful when the land over and over again was taken by force, disease, or chicanery. But the song is great. The music is by an Episcopal church organist who put the poem to music and never met Mrs. Bates, Samuel A. Ward. And unfortunately, he died before he even knew that the song would become so popular. America, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Same tune as God Save the Queen. No, I'm not going there. With the same opening lines. We fought 2 wars to establish our freedom and independence from the rule of England, only to sing the same tune as God Save the Queen. Interesting. America, my country, 'tis of thee. Kelly Clarkson, local Georgia girl, a new winner of American Idol, was wailing away in the 20-degree weather at our inaugural of our first African-American president, Barack Obama. And we were really waiting to see what our queen of soul, Aretha Franklin, would sing, because she'd already done that at another inaugural. But we gave Kelly Clarkson points for doing it on key and in the frozen weather. But the truth is, she could have sang a pig foot and a bottle of beer. We wouldn't have cared. We understood that moment, just glad to be alive to see it, hopeful that Obama would live to leave the White House well. When the last president who epitomized change was elected, who was young and beautiful, they killed him. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Is it really my country yet? Is it sweet, America? My father is a Korean conflict veteran, and his father, R.E. Teague, is a World War I veteran, God rest his soul. My uncles, all of whom are now deceased, all 6 of them. The older ones fought in World War II. They would say, we, the Teagues, we love this country, the only country we know, and they were willing to die for it. Willing to, again, attempt to prove our African American worth, our humanity, and our faithfulness to this country, to the cause of protecting and defending what the country stands for. What the country stands for, not naively what it was or is. People of African descent, by the way, can be historically spotted in every conflict waged, right or wrong. If being a soldier counts, then I can check that box by heritage alone. Yet I dare questioning my love for the only land I've known, me, with all that I challenge in this country, my sexual orientation, my marriage, my myriad friends who are also challenges to the very notion of what it meant to be an American historically. And I, who have benefited from all their struggles as an educated African American. And I have been to Europe, not in a military uniform. I was a tourist first. I was clear about that. They make it clear. And then, simultaneously, I was also an American tourist. And that was clear. And then, all of a sudden, I was a black man with another man, traveling in Europe. And then we come to our national anthem. It's got to be on the list, the Star-Spangled Banner. A tune borrowed from a private men's club for a certain upper class in England. The impossible tune is from a drinking song. The lyrics that we sing are by a poet who wasn't even that famous, Francis Scott Key, but he just happened to be at the right place when, after 25 hours of bombing, our flag was still flying during the second battle of our independence in 1812 from Great Britain. The national anthem, boy, has it caused a stir in our time. And then there's this moment when an incredibly young, beautiful Whitney Houston glides over to the impossible musical note leaps and the lyrics we all know. It's the 1991 Super Bowl 25. She emphasizes the phrases we love, the bombs and the rockets' red glare for our football faith. Her voice is full. America was going to save something in the Persian Gulf also. And we dare not look on the ground, but stand and look up, just as we were taught. At that moment, we are looking up, and where we see is that we are sending young Americans into war again, as Whitney is singing. The Gulf War now was a long time ago in our digital culture. We were preventing a former ally of the FBI, by the way, from doing what we had done all over the planet. We are still at war, by the way, that was based on a war that was based on another war and another war. I just wanted to remind you. Concerning the national anthem, Colin Kaepernick took a knee, he didn't stand, during the same song at several football games just a few years ago. Also young, handsome, also African American, and a two-time Super Bowl quarterback. The nation, many in our nation, could not take it. He was not there to remind us of our racial scars, the wounds, and our contradictions with the lyrics, and the young African American men brutally killed by police. He was there to entertain and uphold our faith and reaffirm our belief in football. He just took a silent knee during the national anthem. He is still out of a job with the NFL, whose national leadership is now making statements about racial justice and negotiating team ownership with Beyoncé's husband. I am proud of Mr. Kaepernick. He will be respected as a great quarterback and even more as a prophetic champion for racial justice. America acts as if we're ready to finally now discuss this racial thing. Finally, again. And if we do, even after horrific 9 minutes of murder, it will be as Americans. As fraught as the conversation is, it must be as Americans. There is no prosperous American story without the free 300-year contribution of the horror of slave labor. There is no prosperous American story without the recognition of the recent and past police brutality. And prior to that, there is no prosperous American story without the stolen lands from shore to shore from the indigenous people of this country. Surprised that now who suffers from the pandemic demographically most in our country? African Americans and Native Americans. We need a new patriotic song for this moment. I'm going to close my quick exploration of patriotism with a vision, because I still believe in this country. The Smithsonian opened the African American Museum of History and Culture, and the opening had several events, including a concert, Taking a Stand. September 2016 was the original broadcast, and the music showcased was tied to the exhibits, and the displays link our African American cultural and musical contributions as people and to what was in the museum. And there's a plane in there flown by the Tuskegee Airmen. And someone brilliantly thought that they should have the surviving Tuskegee Airmen of 2016 who flew in the segregated troops of World War II to come out on stage and be greeted by none other than Major Colin Powell. And they knew each other. And there were 7 African American men, one unable to walk on stage, he was in a wheelchair, and some who needed assistance to get just from backstage and on to stage. They were in their 90s, and this year one of them has turned 100. In the background, under the applause and the tears, you could hear, "God bless America." Despite our torture and oppression in this country, we proud Black folks will, on canes and walkers, return to claim our historic place in this messy, unfair, cruel story of the country. We will sing and do whatever we must to honor the part we have played to make this nation of ideals that we have never fully enjoyed. But also be clear, there are moments when all the pain is surpassed by the love and power of our commitment to make this place home. It is ours. With all the broken promises in every lyric, this is ours too. Of thee I sing.